So this morning, as God's steward, as God's servant, and as we basically, how I frame this narrative is that we are a newborn baby in Christ. Though the church may be here 100 years ago, but we are in a transformational stage moving forward because of our numbers. And it is imperative and necessary as a congregation that we understand the dynamics of being a small church or a small church ministry. There are a lot of people who do not know and understand the dynamics of a small church. There are different views when it comes on to numerical growth and spiritual growth. Meaning there are some people who believe that the church grows when members are added. That's true. But that's just one aspect of growth. You also have the spiritual side of what? Growth. You can be fat and you are not mature. You understand what I'm saying? Anybody understand what I'm saying? You can be large in number, but you are not what? Mature. You can have a lot of people, but you are not mature, you are not growing spiritually. And the same is with, can have a small amount of person, and that maturity is also small. So I want to look on the dynamics of, as I feel that it is imperative that we look on the dynamics of small church ministry, because there are a lot of people who want to see numerical growth, and they will step out of scriptural guidance and principle just because they want to see numerical growth. One of these examples is people want to adapt the so-called Christian charismatic principle. I'm talking about the Church of Christ, to get people on board, and they would want to put on the table the things which Christ has set up for us to be a guide for our spiritual growth. You understand what I'm saying? I can be plainer if you do not understand what I'm saying. All right. So people want to put a band in the church to turn the church into an attractive kind of entertainment, because they want to attract a lot of people. Alright? And if that is the case, you have to always be trying to get something new in terms of entertainment to keep them. So I need your participation. This is a Bible class. For those of you know, I'm in Harden. I'm studying Bible and ministry. My undergrad degree, I graduated this December, God's willing. And Dr. Carlos Gupta, Director of Doctor of Ministry of Lipscomb University, he was at Arden recently, and I found his material to be very, very enlightening, very, very informative. This is not just by research, but most of this material is by experience. His first church in terms of preaching was at a small church, and it is significant that we look on the numbers, we look on the perspective, we look on the principles and practices from these men who have experienced small churches ministry, and I've done extensive research over the years going forward. So if you turn your leaf, we are looking at guidance, inspired small church ministry, guidance for implementing a vibrant ministry in a small church. Okay? There's another thing before I start I want to put forth also is that as a spiritual leader and as a minister, when we look in biblical in the Bible and see biblical principles and in narratives, how Moses led the people, how Joshua led the people of God, and other leaders. Our greatest leader is Jesus Christ, and that is why I always inform others and myself that if you're going to take an example of leadership, look into the New Testament and how Jesus Christ led people, how he nurtured them and guided them. Okay? My principle of leadership comes from God. And I comes from Jesus Christ and how he led the people and how he was a steward, he was a good shepherd to the people. So turn to the first page, which is page 1, and we're going to look at some perspective. Everybody sees perspective there? Perspectives. You see that? You gotta talk back to me.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what is this first percentage on the new realities of church sizes by average worship attendance? Lifeway. This is a Lifeway research. What's the first one there? What and the percentage? You're saying somebody can read it. Small churches. So, small churches under 50 in attendance. Don't want you to miss that out. Small churches under 50 in attendance, what? 31% of all these churches. 31%. Right? Mid-sized churches, 51 to 99, makes up 37%. Okay? So we are looking at the average worship attendance. Larger churches, 100 to 249, makes up 4%. And the bigger ones, larger, from 250 and above, makes up what? 8. What is this graph implying? What is this telling us from your own words? All right. You know, smaller churches has better attendance. We have more small churches than what? Larger churches. Hello? Are you seeing that? Okay. So, a few implications. And I'm going to be reading this book by the name of Paul Baxter. Fact 1, most pastoral minister students will never pastor a church larger than 250 people. This is a fact. All my life, I grew up in Jamaica. I have never ministered to a church in the Caribbean island larger than 250 people. Even the ones in Kingston, in the city. Fact number 2, virtually all of us will pastor a small church for at least sometimes in our ministry. Most of us for a lifetime.
Why is this so? Now, where I'm from in Jamaica, I can speak to Jamaica, maybe Panburn can relate, is that in Panburn, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, I don't know the demographic in terms of industries. I don't know if they moved them out. I don't know what was happening 30 years ago, 40 years ago in Panburn. But what I know in Jamaica, where I'm at, where I used to be, is that I minister to a church up in the hills that is those farming communities. And I usually target younger generation or young people. I grew that church from 6 members to over 50 members. And it went back down. Why? Why do you think it went back down? When I went there in 2000, I grew it from 6 to over 50. And then it went back down. Why do you think it went back down over a period of time? And then nobody tell me. Mostly young people.
They left.
Huh?
Huh?
They moved away. Anybody else? Anybody else? There is no industry in there. There's no work where they can get work and feed themselves and start a family. You understand what I'm saying? Does this seems to be a parallel to what I'm saying in Panburn? Huh? Hello? So the reality is, we are going to put in machinery to reach people, to reach the lost. We can have what you call a letter ministry. People who suffer from drugs and all these things. We can have a letter ministry, which is very, very well effective and good. We can reach people where, people who are down on their luck, and we'll be able to help them with groceries and food, and all these things are good ministry to get people in the church, help our neighbors and all these things. We're going to put in those things, but at the end of the day, I want you to know that this church will remain one. The reality, it will remain one. A small one. Church. What we will not do, we will not go out of our way to get people into the church by giving them a false narrative or preaching to them a false doctrine. Are you understand what I'm saying? Because false doctrine doesn't hold people, entertainment doesn't hold people. The more you're going to spend for entertainment and try to get something new and gimmicks and all of these things, you're just going to deplete your resources and they're not going to be saved. People are led to Christ, not entertainment. You understand what I'm saying? Some older folks are here, but most of you are older. I need your input on what this finding is saying. You can pastor a small church well without settling for less. Tom Rainer. More pastors and staff will be co-vocational and bivocational. What does this mean?
They do many jobs.
Okay. Alright. So co and bivocational is somebody who works and what? Yeah? And then minister. Okay? A lot of people would want to say, what is the disadvantage and advantage of a bivocational preacher? He has no contacts. Okay? That's advantage. Now, I used to do bivocational, and I tell you the church suffers. If you don't have a full-time minister in ministry, yes, he can work, but in a small church, the church suffers with sermons preparation. He doesn't have enough time to prepare his sermon. That I know. Because he's working secularly to feed his family, and he has to give 100% to that job that he's committed to. If he doesn't, he's going to be fired and laid off. And so, in terms of ministry, bivocational, yes, it can be suitable if the church doesn't want him to be a full-time minister, and that is his choice. But what I know, I was not able to prepare my sermons and my Bible class lessons like how I wanted. This is what was happening. I was the driver picking up members. I was the hospital person when members want to go to the hospital. I was the one who's doing visitation. All of these things. And because I was doing everything and working at the same time, what happened? My interest in studying the word to feed the people fall short. I wasn't able to study and make a sermon palatable enough, adequate to feed the members spiritually. And nothing is wrong with that. It's not a bad trait. But do you want that? Hello? You gotta talk back to me, If what I'm saying is dumb, and what I'm saying, is what I'm saying a reality? I have to equip the members to do the work of the ministry. It's a vital, as always. Now, one of the things, I know you are faithful. Last week Sunday, and I don't want to judge anybody, when I said I'm here to put in place. Now, to put in place doesn't mean not all people who are elders are desired to be an elder. To put in place is to convert, people come in, and then it's over a period of time. So not because you're an elder, you believe that you're qualified to be an elder. No, the Bible doesn't say that. But we cannot be fearful and run away from ministry, run away from church work. We cannot be fearful. My job is to equip you. That is my job, and I have to teach you the things which God has left for me to work, to teach and to implement. I have to do this. It has to be made known. Ministry and theological training must adapt to this reality. We have to adapt to this reality. Now, I think one of the things that this church suffered from over a number of years is that the men who comes in, somebody's either not training them or they don't want to be trained. But when I'm back home, the young men, the young women, I always give them something to do. I start training them from a tender age. It's a necessity. We have to train men and women in ministry. Our church budgets will be smaller. Why?
Less people.
Yeah, it's a reality. And one other thing is that, look at the last one. What does the last one say? Under Tom Rainer. What does Tom Rainer say? Tom Rainer. Last one. What does it say?
More churches will need to be adopted or they will die.
More churches need to be adopted or they will die. A natural death. We don't want to, you see, and so it's for the ministers and church to realize that, hey, there's a paradigm shift. Guess what happened in Jamaica recently? And it has happened in the States, but I can relate to Jamaica because I have information on it. They cut a highway. There was a regular route where traffic used to flow regularly. But the government makes an hour. Cut a brand new highway and take all away the traffic. What did they happen? Revenues? People used to have their living from this traffic dried up. You understand? So we have to adapt. And it is not that the minister is not doing enough work. These are dynamics, church. These are dynamics. These are things that are happening. And so we have to adapt because of certain paradigm shift. When Walmart came in, what happened to small businesses? Hello? When Walmart came in, what happened? People had to innovate and rethink. A lot of people were very upset. So,
businesses, a lot of them moved, some of them died out.
Right.
A lot of people went to work for them.
Go back. You can't fight them, you gotta embrace them, you know. So we need to be practical Church of Christ members of what is happening. There are many types of healthy small churches: planting, training, house, retirement community, Nietzsche? Yeah. Countercultural, impoverished, prosecuted, transitional, strategically small. The vast majority of ministers have a relational, pastoral gift set and have neither the interest nor propensity for organizational administrative necessities of a large church. What is this saying? Do we understand the dynamics of what it takes to run a large church? That's what it is saying in a nutshell. The vast majority of ministry, okay, in the second one, many people grow in church best through the pastoral care afforded by a small church. Many people grow in church because of the pastoral care afforded by a small church. I gave you the example that when I go to college church, I feel like a stranger. Nothing is wrong with college church. And I got friends there, okay? Went there for 1 year. But somehow, a large church of over 1,000 persons, why do I feel like a stranger?
It's hard to even know when someone is sick or missing in a large church. You
Yeah.
don't know them.
Yeah. But here, I just feel connected to you understand what I'm saying? I don't know what God goes for me, but I just feel connected to Him. What does the other one say? I want somebody to read this one.
Grow it or close it is a false
Dichotomy.
dichotomy. Numerical growth is not exponential. It is possible to have thriving small churches.
It is possible to have what? Small, thriving, small, thriving. It is possible to have thriving small churches. Grow it or close it. No, we can't think that way, church. That's it. I understand sometimes people feel tired, feel like we can't. But the thing is that we are depending on our own knowledge base and looking at what is happening. Grow it or what? Close it is a false dichotomy. It is false. The reason why I push you so much is because when I'm in Jamaica, in this farming community, I operate on zero budget. Yeah, we don't have what you have. we may be 10 or 12. We don't have what you have, but guess what? We're still going. You understand? We're still going. You got a better economy, you got better 401ks or whatever. Your system of relief is so much better support system. Unless you go, you will not know. So I've seen firsthand, when I went to Cuba 24 years ago, when I went to Cuba and I saw the way the Cubans were living, I went back to Jamaica and I said, I stopped complaining. Yeah. And they were worshiping. Those who were registered with the government, the Cubans are communists, they were underground and they were worshiping and they were having such a wonderful time with whatever they had. They were moving forward. No, I wanted to tell you, we have evangelized, helped to evangelize Cuba. Cuba has the largest, in terms of numbers, numerical growth, the largest in terms of number in the Caribbean, churches of Christ. More churches of Christ than any other island in the Caribbean. Even Puerto Rico. Yeah. Am I making sense? Hello? Is there anything has stood out with this? Small churches are not a problem or a virtue. Some churches don't grow because of unhealthy tendency, which is a list for. Some churches do not have these tendencies and still remain small. And this is not a bad thing. It is not a what? It is not a bad thing. Equip the saints, reach the lost, glorify God. If you and your church are doing that, it doesn't matter what size it is. So these are the unhealthy tendencies, selfish attitudes, disobedient to the scripture, babysitting the saints instead of reaching the lost, honoring the building more than people, trying to please everyone, manufacturing energy, lack of prayer, following fads instead of following God, territorialism, putting comfort over mission, lack of solid biblical preaching, not enough this discipleship. These are the unhealthy traits. If you and your church are doing that, equip the saints, reach the lost, and glorify God. If you and your church are doing that, it doesn't matter what size it is. Small churches are not an excuse, and I want you to get this. Small churches are not an excuse and must replace excuses with purposeful declaration. Just because we don't have a dynamic worship leader does not mean we'll settle for passionless worship. Lack of sermon prep time because of a bivocational schedule will not mean bad theology or passionless preaching. Minimal finances will not stop us from being generous. Not having professionally made graphics, flyers, and banners won't stop us from inviting our friends to church. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't rely on a quick fix, and because somebody came up with something, and if we don't do that, well, you understand what I'm saying? I remember the days when we didn't have printers and we didn't have flyers, and we went out in the community and we invite people. The crowds were large and massive. same prayers that we're praying, hopefully today, we have the same fire and zeal. We set up our tents and we preach for weeks. We are going to stop at page 2. Any questions at the bottom of page 2? Any question? No, I need some feedback is what I am saying based on this is a study that I have done, based on the study that these men have done, and these are Church of Christ men. What do you think? What's your opinion of what I'm saying? And we will continue embarking on this.
There's two things.
Yes, ma'am.
There's hope and there's work.
Right. Everybody turn to the back of your what do you see there? You can just look at that and observe it. Well, we're going to break and you have anything to say, sir?
I don't think you want to hear what I have to say.
Well, it would be okay. Okay.
Well, if you look back at the back, what's a traditional church? All through this brochure, they're talking about denominations. They're not talking about God's Christ church. They're talking about denominations.
Yeah.
So, and what's a traditional church?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I'm finished. I just asked a question. What's a traditional church?
But in relation to the scripture, I'm making reference to the church that Christ built.
Well, I know that all this right here is talking about denominations, pastors or preachers. They're not talking about. Well, do you consider, are you a pastor or are you an elder?
I understand what you're saying, and I am not disputing that. Now in Jamaica, if you go to Jamaica, I cannot stop everybody and explain to them that I am not a pastor. But in the culture there is that when they come into church, I am able to sit them down and tell them the difference from a pastor and an evangelist. We know the difference from a pastor and an evangelist. But in Jamaica, they call me pastor. I can't stop, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Yeah, I can't stop and say, well, I am not. It got so frustrating when it's just when they come in the church, I'm able to make the distinction. But I cannot stop and say, I am not a pastor, don't call me. They're just greeting me. Yeah, and I take the greeting. And sometimes too, that that leads me to a Bible study because of what they said. And I said, do you understand the difference between a pastor and an evangelism? Or an evangelist? And they will say, no. And I said, okay, let me have a discussion with you. I have had people who are not a member of the church, and they say certain things. They invite me over because they always said, well, you are inviting me, and you're not coming to when I invite you. So I go. And I said, and then I engage them in the discussion of the reason why we do not do this, the reason why we do not do that. But it's not every time you engage in an argument of that sort, because it can either turn them away or they was just giving you a greeting, if you understand what I'm saying. But I do understand the difference between a pastor and a evangelist. Yes, sir. All right. And we have studied many books. One of the things is, as I come to a close,